right, fired up. Just do your thing here, bud. Nobody's any better at this than you are.
That's fine. Take a deep breath.
Give him hell at the end. You like this?
Fighting like hell like we do every week. You're the best here. Brett, be affirmative. You told me to get on.
Info. Ready. Ready. Go slow. Green, green, green. Lock it down, lock it down.
I'm destroyed, and I just got drove through like 6 times on the 14th. What the f*** is he thinking? That is the stupidest thing I've seen in my career. Literally.
Everything you described is accurate. Haven't even finished the second stage yet. Half the field's wrecked.
Hell yeah!
11 got it. Rowdy there, Matt. Good job, pal. Thanks, man. Good job all day. Great work, my man. Great work.
Keep putting yourself in position, we'll win our share, right? We got one back today, brother. Good job.
10-4, great job, guys.
And welcome back to another week of Racing in the Draft. My name is Mark, and thanks for joining. All right, we are headed to Las Vegas, Sin City, for the Pennzoil 400. If you're new here, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Thanks for joining in. This is where we break down Draftkings and fantasy racing each week and look at drivers and practice and qualifying and news and events and things of that nature. But before we get to this week, we have to go back in time and look at last week's winner from Auto Club Speedway, the final race at the 2-mile configuration Auto Club in Fontana, maybe even the last race in Fontana. Who knows? Nobody really knows, because NASCAR, I don't even think, knows. But either way, Kyle Busch gets the win in a dominating fashion. But let's look at the optimal lineups like we do every week. We look back on who we thought might win, who might do well in points and that type of thing. But Kyle Busch with 82.1 points. He and Ross Chastain battled for that top spot quite a bit on Sunday's race. Chase Elliott coming from the rear in 33rd. He was the only one in the 30s, and there was a bunch that could have made it up. And I thought it would be potentially a trap, but it was one of those that kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't type situations. But you just had to pick the right ones, and you had to differentiate your lineups. But it seems like most of the points kind of came from the 20s. Kyle Busch starting 21st, Harrison Burton starting 24th, Michael McDowell starting 26th, Austin Dillon starting 28th. The only one starting in the top 10 that finished in the top 10, or actually even top 5, was Ross Chastain. So we had one dominator for 200 laps, 3 place differentials, 2 values, and 3 finishing guys. I take the finishing guys as the top 5. Other drivers that if you had them in the lineup, you potentially cashed in tournaments or in cash tournaments or in cash play. Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick, Daniel Suarez. So as you can see, a lot of these guys were coming from kind of middle in the pack. Only Eric Jones was the only one in the 30s that made it up into potential close to being optimal lineups. But our optimal lineup challenge after 2 races, we had 6 new guys enter in. But probably our guys that I think will do well: Kyle Busch, Ross Chastain, Austin Dillon, Daniel Suarez, Michael McDowell, all are now in that optimal lineup. As you see, Chase Elliott is there. He got his name on the board, but as you will find out later in this video, he will not be racing this weekend. I'm sure everybody has heard that at this point, but let's fast forward and back to reality. Las Vegas this weekend for the Pennzoil 400. All right, Las Vegas is an intermediate style track. They call it kind of a cookie cutter. It's D shape and kind of formation. The track length is 1.5 miles, 18 to 20 degrees progressive in the corners. Today's race length is 267 laps. Dominator points will consist of 186.9. It's coming from 66.75 of laps led and 120.15 fast laps for the 100 almost 87 total points today. So Dominator points will play into consideration where we have not really played so much into the Dominator factor. I think we definitely need to target 1 or 2 drivers for a potential Dominator slash finishing spots. But our track comparisons, we look at Kansas, Las Vegas, Charlotte, all are very, very similar. And also Miami being a 1.5 miles progressive banked is the reason Miami gets put into this mix. Also has fairly decent tire wear. Tire wear will be something to watch today. You will have some comers and goers, but I realistically think that most of it's going to happen within probably the top 20 starters. We do have a couple guys that'll be in the rear that we'll target for place differential. And even, somebody starting 18th that finishes 5th will be a place differential. But either way, we always start every week and we talk about kind of what we're looking at here. I'll go into more detail with Kyle Busch and then we'll kind of cruise through the rest of them. But as you can see in this top box up here, Kyle Busch, $10,900. His starting spot is 5th. We finally had a practice session this week, and Kyle Busch was 27th in what they consider fast lap. So they take the fastest lap that you ran in practice, and that's where they kind of seat you. But he had 17 total laps at practice, and he was 27th fastest in that. Listening to his post qualifying and practice interviews, this practice session was set up almost strictly not for speed, but for long run speed. Kyle Busch has also run the Truck and Xfinity race this weekend. And typically when Kyle Busch does that, he typically ends up having a fairly decent Sunday. So take that into consideration. This practice speed, and a lot of these guys, when they're practicing, are setting up for race trim and not qualifying trim. They change over to qualifying trim to qualify, and then they'll revert back to what they had for practice. So this is really kind of looking at what they may have, at least in short run speed. So Kyle Busch may not fire off very quickly, but I think his car is going to be set up for a long run. This track typically has a lot more long runs, maybe even green flag stops, not as much of a lot of carnage. So, as I say that, we'll end up having just a wreck fest today. But he did not do 10 laps of consecutive, so we do not have any data here. So he didn't get 10 laps of consecutive practice in. And we'll see that on the next driver. And then down here on the bottom left, we have the last 5 races at Vegas. So we had the fall of 22, the spring of 22, the fall of 21, spring of 21, and the fall of 20. Now remember, this is the next gen car, so only 2 of these 5 races really kind of translate over, but we look at the whole work and when we're kind of deciding this. And in those 5 races, Kyle Busch has no wins, but he does have 4 top 5s, 5 top 10s, 5 top 20s, a 62.7 Draftkings average, which is not the best in the field, but he does have the best in the field for average finish of 3.8. He did finish 3rd in this race. So the last race at Vegas was the fall playoff race, and Kyle Busch finished 3rd in that race. Over here to the top right, we have the full race history at Las Vegas for Kyle Busch, where he has 23 total starts here at Las Vegas. He does 1 win. He's got 11 top 5s, 14 top 10s, and these are in green because those are the most of any other driver. Now it helps that he's raced 23 times, but he has 11 top 5s out of 23 total starts, and over half the time he is finishing in the top 10, and 19 out of 23 top 20s. He's got a 12.3 average finish here at Las Vegas. Then over here to the top right in green is what I break down as a power ranking, or my ranking system. This takes into account the last 5 races, the last 10 races, and then the percentage here is the ownership percentage. I run 40 different lineups. when I set my lineups, and I have Kyle Busch in between 15 to 20% of those lineups. I don't give exact numbers, no need to, but that's kind of the ballpark that I'm in, is 15 to 20%. Kyle Busch may end up having a little bit more ownership than that. I may be a little light on the field, but that's probably close to where he's going to come in. I don't think he's going to be super heavily owned. There's some guys that will target that potentially could have a little bit better with place differential and potential dominator laps. I think Kyle Busch could easily win this race. That's why I'm definitely not excluding him. I'm probably middleweight is my guess. Kyle Larson, 10,700, starting 6th. I'm looking for a rebound for Kyle Larson. And as we talked about, since Kyle Busch did not have a 10-lap average, Kyle Larson did do 19 laps where he was first, and he was second in 10-lap consecutive average, which is pretty good. So if he's really kind of practicing for race trim and not for qualifying trim, he's going to be in pretty good spots. Now, Kyle Larson needs a rebound this week. He had a rough go at it, both at Daytona and at Auto Club. So I'm looking for a rebound from the HendrickCars.com Kyle Larson car. Kyle Larson did miss, remember, the Fall 20 race. So 4 starts here, 1 win, 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s, 3 top 20s, a 51.5 DraftKings average, 12.0 average finish. He finished 35th in this race last year with some mechanical issues. He's got 13 total starts here at Las Vegas with 1 win and a 9.6 average finish. Next in line here, our winner from the fall race last year, Joey Logano, 10,500, starting from the pole. He was also fairly quick in practice. He was 3rd with 21 total laps of practice, 7th in 10-lap consecutive average. Joey Logano does have 1 win in the last 5 races here, and all 5 he's finished in the top 20. So I don't love the pole sitter. He has to dominate, and he has to finish very close to first to make it into the optimal lineup. But we have seen a slight trend with this car that the guys that are starting up front tend to stay there, unless they've got some issues or end up getting tangled up with somebody else or a pit road violations and those types of things. But don't take that out of consideration, because Kyle Busch also had pit road violations at Auto Club and came back to win that race. So take that into account. It is a little tough to put somebody in the lineup, in a DraftKings lineup, because they only have one place to go but down if they don't win. So, which is negative points. And it's minus 1 point for each spot. And when we're talking, probably being in the mid 50s, will get you probably in the optimal lineup. You lose 5 spots. That's a chunk. So take that into consideration. But he has 19 total starts here. He does have the best average finish of any driver at 9.1, and he does have 3 wins. And well over half the time he's finishing in the top 10. So 18 out of 19 top 20s. But if he finishes 20th and he starts first, that's a 19-point swing, not including just the finishing spot. Next in line here, we've got Ross Chastain, 10,300, starting 8th. He was 10th in single lap and 2nd in 10 lap. Were they both the same? Hold on 1 second. Let me check that. That doesn't sound right. Where is that? It's under Jayski. Yeah, if you're ever wondering, I'll slide this over here. But you can find all the qualifying practice stats and everything, practice speeds. So single lap, but I want to see 10 lap average. So our 10 lap average for Ross Chastain was 5th. So sorry, misprint there. I want to make sure I gave you the right stats. So he was 5th in 10 lap consecutive average. Decent starting spot, kind of in that sweet spot that I'm thinking will do well. Ross also had a really, really fast car last week, so take that into consideration. He's been fast all week. He did finish second in this race last year in the fall. And out of his 9 total starts, he has 2 top 5s, 2 top 10s, 3 top 20s, and a 17.6 average finish. But remember, last year was the first year that he was with Trackhouse Racing, so his stats have been much better since joining Trackhouse. And I have him in 30 to 35% of my lineups. All right, next in line here, Chase Elliott. Do not run Chase Elliott this week. He is not racing and will not be racing for the foreseeable future. He was in a snowboarding accident and fractured his leg. 3 hours of surgery. No update, at least I've seen this morning, on potential how long he will be out. But my guess is probably 2 to 3 weeks. It is his left leg that he injured, and he does break with his left leg. So, yeah, Chase Elliott may be out for a while. So we'll see what his recovery time is, and they'll update us as we go. But do not run Chase Elliott today. Josh Berry, who has won twice here in the Xfinity Series, is running that backup, or is running as the driver of the number 9 Napa Auto Parts. So we will skip over Chase. Just do not run him. That's my only advice for Chase. Don't run him. Denny Hamlin, 9,900, starting 12th, 23rd in single lap, 12th in 10 lap consecutive average. Denny does have really, really good stats here. He's got 1 win in the last 5 races, 4 top 5s, 4 top 10, 4 top 20s, a 66.0 DraftKings average, and a 9.0 average finish. 66.0 is the best in the field today for DraftKings points. Starting 12th, a little bit of PD upside potential. Denny Hamlin could easily vie for a top 5, if not potentially for the win today. Finished 5th in this race in the fall race last year. 22 total starts with a 12.5 average finish. Ryan Blaney, 9,700, next in line, starting 3rd. He was also very quick in practice. 2nd with 25 laps total of practice. 4th in 10 lap consecutive average. Ryan Blaney does not have a win here at Las Vegas. And in the last 5 races, 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s, 32.5 DraftKings average, 16.2 average finish, and finished 28th here in the fall race last year. And out of his 13 total starts here, he does have 9.1 average finish. So pretty consistent, finishing close to 10th or better. So keep that in mind. I think Ryan Blaney could easily, he's had some rough luck too, so kind of like Larson, he's going to need to have a nice rebound this weekend. Hey, if you're just joining in, make sure you hit that like, subscribe button. Hit me up in the chat. Who do you like today for the win? Who do you like today as a potential dominator? And who are you going to avoid today other than Chase Elliott? All right, next in line here, Martin Truex Jr. Can Martin Truex Jr. finally get a points win? He hasn't had one in a while. He did win the Clash, but he's still looking for that magic ticket to the playoffs. So Martin Truex Jr., 9,500, starting 15th. His stats here are pretty good. In the last 5, well, let's look at his practice. 25th in single lap, 20th in 10 lap consecutive average, so a little bit slow. Maybe he's setting up for that long run, kind of like some other guys that we're seeing here. But Martin does typically and has raced fairly well here in the past. In the last 5 races, he's got 5 top 10s, 2 top 5s, a 51.0 DraftKings average, pretty good, 5.8 average finish. He finished 7th here in the fall race last year, and he's got 22 total starts, and he has the best top 20 going, where he's finished 21 out of those 22 times in the top 20. So starting 15th, some PD upside potential here for Martin. I am probably overweight with Martin today at 30 to 35%, but I think he has an opportunity to do well at Las Vegas. All right, next in line, we've got Christopher Bell, who was really, really quick in qualifying. He was pretty steady in the middle of the pack for practice, 12th on 1 lap speeds and 9th out of 10 lap consecutive averages. He does not have a top 5 finish here. So starting 10th, and he's only got 2 out of the last 5 races where he's finished in the top 10. Finished 34th here in the fall. But remember, Christopher Bell was running really, really strong towards the end last year. This was not one of the tracks that he did well at in the playoffs, where he finished 34th. I'm middleweight on Christopher Bell. I've got him in a couple lineups. I don't have him in a lot. But starting 10th, I guess there is a little bit of room of PD upside, but I mean, his average finish here is 22nd, or 19.8 in the last 5. So I don't love Christopher Bell by any means today. And I'm still kind of leery on Toyotas in general. They just they didn't show a whole lot of speed at Auto Club. So keep that in mind. The Chevys seem to have really good long run, fast speed. The Fords have some short run, fast speed. And Toyota's kind of lagging behind at this point. So kind of keep that in mind when you're putting your lineups together. We'll see. But next in line here, William Byron, our outside pole sitter at $9,100. He was 5th in single lap, where he practiced 25 total laps, and he was 1st in 10-lap consecutive average. So starting outside pole, next to Joey Logano, potentially is somebody to kind of take a look at who may end up being one of our dominators today. William Byron does run fairly well at 1.5-mile type tracks. So I think William Byron could end up having a decent day today, but starting second, you've only got one spot that you can improve on, and a lot more that can hurt you. So I'm a little light on William Byron, even though I think he may end up running fairly well. He finished 13th here in the fall race last year. He's got a 13.8 average finish over the last 5 races. Does not have a win here at Las Vegas yet. And out of his 10 total starts, he's got a 16.2 average finish. All right, next in line here, Tyler Reddick, $8,800. Tyler Reddick's team, they pulled it off the trailer, and when they fired the engine was not performing when they were setting it up. So Tyler Reddick had to change engines, or his crew had to change the engine. I mean, Tyler may have helped, but with the engine change, that meant he could not practice, he could not qualify. So no stats. He is starting 34th on the field. Yeah, so here's could be somebody who potentially has a chance for a lot of PD upside. But boy, does it worry me. Tyler Reddick currently is last in points. And what I mean by last in points, I mean last in points. Let's see here. Schedule, results. I don't know where. Let's see. Maybe NASCAR's got the points. Yeah, driver standings. Tyler Reddick, last. Jimmy Johnson, who missed a race, is further ahead than Tyler Reddick. J.J. Yeley's ahead of Tyler Reddick. Ty Dillon is high. I mean, Travis Pastrana is in front of him. B.J. McLeod is in front of him. Yeah, so Tyler Reddick, total of 4 points. Yeah, that potentially is concerning. Did not see Tyler Reddick being in that spot after 2 races. But maybe we get a rebound from Tyler Reddick this week. I'm sure he just wants to finish. He ran fairly well here in the fall race where he finished 6th. But he did do that in the number 8 car. So maybe, hopefully 2311 has got the bugs figured out on this thing, and Tyler Reddick can have a decent day and give us a lot of place differential. That's what I'm looking for from Tyler Reddick, is to finish this race and have a decent points day. But we'll cross our fingers, and hopefully Tyler Reddick turns his luck around. Next in line here, we've got Kevin Harvick, 8,600, starting 14th. He was 7th in single lap and 10th and 6th in 10-lap consecutive average. Kevin Harvick does have 2 total wins out of his 27 total starts. He finished 12th here in the fall race last year. And in the last 5 races, he doesn't have a top 5, but 2 top 10s and a 12.6 average finish. So starting 14th, we've got some PD upside potential here. Kevin's quietly just having another good, solid year to start. We're only 2 races in, so not a whole lot to go by. But Kevin Harvick potentially is somebody who could have a little bit of place differential. I've got him in 15 to 20% of my lineups. All right, next here, Alex Bowman, $8,500, starting 11th. Alex did win the spring race here last year and did not race in the fall race because he was under concussion protocol. Noah Gragson ran that car for him and did have a pretty decent finish. So I think Alex Bowman, all things said, should end up having a pretty decent race. I would think maybe somewhere in the top 10. But Alex Bowman also it's either he's going to finish in the top 10 or he's going to finish 35th. It's no in between with Alex. So I'm hoping for a pretty good day for Alex Bowman. I've got him in 10 to 15% of my lineups. In the last 5 races, he's got a 13.8 average finish, which is very similar to his total average, 13.3 for 11 total starts. And like I said, he does have one win here, which was the spring race last year. Bubba Wallace, 8,300, starting 13th. I'm just as concerned with Bubba as I am with Tyler Reddick. They just had little bugs biting them all season so far. And until they kind of get over that hump, I'm going to fade off of Bubba Wallace because of where he's starting. If Tyler Reddick were starting further up, I would probably fade off of him. But starting 34th, you only have one place to go, but that's kind of up. 36 drivers starting. And I'm sorry, if he finishes the race, he's going to get in front of BJ McLeod and JJ Ely and the guys that are the back markers. So, but Bubba Wallace starting 13th kind of makes me a little bit nervous. He did not do a 10-lap consecutive average. He only had 15 total laps of practice where he got to 6. Like I said, he finished 36 in this race last fall. He's got a 22.1 average finish out of the 10 total starts. He's only got one top 10 in the 10 total starts. In the last 5, he's only got one top 20. Just things aren't pointing in the direction that I would like for Bubba Wallace. So I am faded off of Bubba Wallace today. All right, next in line here, Austin Dillon, 8,100. Starting 26th, he was 31st, which is pretty bad, in single lap speed, 22nd in 10-lap consecutive average, and then qualified 26th. Now, Austin Dillon has been doing this notoriously for years, where he just doesn't qualify or practice well, and then it comes to race trim, and he ends up finding himself close to the top 10, or at least the top 20. He's got a 15.6 average finish over the last 5 races and a 12.3 average finish for the 15 races that he's started here. Decent amount of PD upside play. This is kind of where I think maybe some of the potential PD upside plays come from, is maybe an Austin Dillon, Tyler Reddick, those types. So I've got him in 15 to 20% of my lineups. I think he'll end up having a decent day today. I don't think he finishes 26. He should finish potentially top 15, maybe even top 10. All right, next in line here, Eric Jones, 7,900, starting 22nd. He was 15th in single lap and 10th in 10-lap consecutive average. He does not have a top 5 finish here, but has 3 top 10s. Starting 22nd, if he can get a top 10, that's going to be enough to probably put him in pretty high up in tournaments, and definitely very well in cash lineups. A 16.6 average finish and 18.6 total average finish for 11 total starts. I've got him in 20-25% of my lineups because I think he potentially can get himself a top 10. They ran really well at 1.5-mile type tracks towards the end of last year. He does like high tire wear tracks. He finished first at Darlington towards the middle to late part of the season last year. So I like Eric Jones to maybe even get himself a top 10 or top 5 this week. Starting 22nd, that would be enough to put him into the lineups that we'd like to see. Brad Keselowski, he really seems to have gotten the ship turned around and headed in the right direction with RFK Racing. $7,700. He's got the 7th starting spot. He was 22nd in single lap and did not do a 10-lap consecutive run. But he does like this track. He's got 3 total wins out of the 19 total starts. He's got a 12.5 average finish. He finished 17th here in the fall. 12.6 total or average finish over the last 5 races. I kind of like Brad today. I think he could be a sneaky pick. I think he may get overlooked in that 7,700 starting where he is, where you've got an Eric Jones starting 22nd, Austin Dillon starting 26th. I think Brad could be sneaky today. So kind of keep an eye on Brad. I do have him in 20-25% of my lineups. Daniel Suarez, here's another one that may make Brad kind of disappear a little bit in a lot of people's eyes. Is Daniel Suarez starting 24th. Daniel's been solid this year so far, and run really well. He's had some late race issues, but he's been running top 5 in both of the races so far this year. $7,600, starting 24th. He was 18th in single lap. He finished 16th in this race in the fall last year. His average finish is not great, but remember, he's only been with, Trackhouse, for the last year or two, but they have been doing nothing but improving in speed. So I don't love the stats here for Daniel because they just don't show a true comparison. Kind of like Ross Chastain. They just don't really show his true potential. Starting 24th, I've got him in 25 to 30% of my lineups. I think Daniel Suarez could easily be a top 10. And if that is the case, he could end up being in one of the better tournament lineups, and even cash. Chase Briscoe, 7,400. He's another one who's just had the unlucky bug bite him so far this year. He is starting 20th, 14th in single lap. He did not do a 10-lap consecutive average. He did finish 4th in this race last year in the fall. 4 total starts with an 18.5 average finish, and he has finished in the top 5 here once out of those 4 starts. So keep that in mind. I got him in 15 to 20% of my laps. Ryan Preece, another one who has just had the bad luck bug bite him, also 7,200, looking to rebound and get his season turned right side up. Oops, I didn't fix his car right. That is not Ryan Preece's car. Starting 31st. Sorry about that. Even though my head kind of is over top part of it. Starting 31st, ton of potential PD upside play, or he finishes where he starts. He's got a 20.7 average finish over the last 5 races where he's only had 3 starts. Did not race the fall race last year because he was a development driver for Stuart Haas, but has got the full-time ride in the 41 this year. 6 total starts with a 21.0 average finish. If he can get himself up to 21st, he's not going to make big-time tournament lineups, but he could be a really good cash play. So Ryan Preece looking to turn his year around. I do have him 15 to 20% of my lineups. Austin Cindric, 7,100, starting 9th. He's starting to show the signs that he did last year. Super fast in practice and qualifying, and then just kind of fade during the race. Don't love Austin Cindric's starting spot and his stats. And that is not correct. Man, those stats are really off. Sorry about that. I missed that completely. Let's take a look at his stats. So Austin Cindric. All right, so Austin Cindric has only one top 20 with a 24th place average finish. So stats here are not great. He finished 29th in this race last year. So take that into mind. He doesn't seem to run as well as he practices and qualifies. So look, I'm faded off of him. I'm at 0 to 5%, which means I've only got him in either none or 1, maybe 2 lineups. So keep that in mind when you're putting your lineups together. I don't like Austin Cindric, at least where he is starting. Next in line here, Chris Buescher, who's been having a decent start to his year this year, and that RFK number 17 racing for Brad. Really showing some decent speed so far this year. He was very fast in practice and qualify with practice and 10-lap consecutive average, where he finished 8th. He finished 15th here last fall. 12 total starts with a 16th place average finish. He does have 1 top 10 in the last 5 races, starting 18th. Chris Buescher could be in that kind of sweet spot that I think is going to be where we kind of need to target, anywhere from about 13th to 25th in the starting spots. I think could potentially have the best outcome for Draftkings today. But starting 18th, I've got him in 25 to 30% of my lineups. He showed a lot of speed during practice and then just kind of missed a little bit in qualifying. So his bad luck may be a little bit of luck for us. So starting 18th, I expect Chris Buescher to move up in the lineup today. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., our Daytona 500 winner, 6,800, starting 16th, 24th in single lap, 19th in 10 lap. So kind of qualified where he practiced a little bit, maybe a little bit better. He's got, in the last 5 starts here, he's only got 2 top 20s and a 19th place average finish. I think Ricky kind of is in one of those that could easily finishes where he starts. Yeah, I don't love Ricky Stenhouse Jr. today. His stats here end at a lot of mile-and-a-half tracks have not really been Ricky's wheelhouse. He's really good at the super speedways. That's why he won Daytona, I guess. But yeah, I faded off of Ricky. I've only got him in 1 or 2 lineups. Next in lineup here, 6,600 Ty Gibbs, the rookie, and your Xfinity champion from last year, starting 4th. Woo! Had some speed during qualifying. 8th in single lap and 14th in 10 lap consecutive average. In my opinion, Ty Gibbs outkicked his coverage. In the Xfinity car, he's really good here. He won the fall Xfinity race, but he was driving in last year complete mind blank. He was driving Kurt Busch's car last year, where he finished 22nd, which, I mean, for the first time being at this track in the next gen car, not a bad finish. But starting 4th, I just don't like his starting spot. I think he's potentially a top 20, but I'm not sure he's a top 10. And if you fall back that much, I really don't have a whole lot of interest in Ty Gibbs today. Just mostly from his starting spot. Even if he was starting 14th or 15th, I'm not sure I would have him in many lineups. So I faded off of Ty Gibbs today, and I think most people will because of his starting spot. Eric Almirola, 6,400, starting 21st. 9th in single lap, 3rd in 10 lap consecutive average. So it appears that Eric Almirola's got some at least medium to long range speed. Starting 21st. He's got a decent, not really decent, 19.6 average finish. He's got 1 top 10 in the last 5 races. He's never finished in the top 5 here. And out of 19 total starts, he's got that 19.7, which is real close to his last 5 race average. I've got him in some lineups. But yeah, it's a little concerning to be a 19.6 average finish and starting 21st. Kind of one of those, are you going to finish where you started? I'm hoping that he gets a little bit of PD upside play. But I would much rather take him than a Ty Gibbs or Ricky Stenhouse if you're looking in this low to medium $6,000 range. All right, next in lineup here, we've got Noah Gragson, who is a Las Vegas native. Also, Las Vegas native is Kyle Busch. So Noah Gragson, home track, 6,300, starting 25th. He has won in the Xfinity Series here before. He was 32nd in single lap and did not do a 10-lap consecutive run. He did finish 11th here in the fall race, racing Alex Bowman's car. Starting 25th, there's potential PD upside play here with Noah. If he can get another 11th place finish, that potentially puts him in a really good spot for tournaments and really good spot for cash lineups. So I do like Noah Gragson today. I probably like Noah Gragson more than I would like an Eric Almirola. So in the $6,000 range, I probably think I like Noah Gragson maybe the best. Let's see. On the high end, Chris Buescher I like, and in this middle line, I kind of like Noah Gragson. Not a whole lot of other stats to talk about Noah. Another one that I like a decent amount here in the $6,000 range is AJ Allmendinger, 6,100, starting 23rd. AJ has won in the Xfinity car here. He finished 9th in the fall race last year, driving this number 16 car. So I expect decent things. He was 13th in single lap, missed a little bit in qualifying, which may be an advantage for us to take advantage of. But that 9th place finish, and remember, he did reach a race here in the Cup Series a while back. He's got 11 total starts with a 22nd place average finish. But Kaulig seems to have really got their act together this year and have been running really well. So I do like some AJ Allmendinger. I also like from out of the same team, Justin Haley starting 27th, a little bit more PD upside play. Justin Haley finished 14th in this race last year. He was 21st in practice on single lap, did not do a 10-lap consecutive average. He's got a 23.0 average finish with 2 top 20s out of his 4 total starts out of the last 5. So I do like some Justin Haley today. He's got some real PD upside potential here. And at 5,900, we'll definitely need to have some cost savings, and that would be somebody to kind of target. Much more than Michael McDowell at 5,700. Michael McDowell seems to be the guy that in the middle of the year, he kind of really gets going. And he hasn't quite get going yet this year. I think he did finish optimal earlier. Let's see. Did he get an optimal lineup earlier? Yep, he did get an optimal lineup, but he finished 18th, starting 26th, mostly because of his price tag at Auto Club. So take that into consideration that he got that optimal lineup there. Let's get back down to him. Where is he? Goodness. All right, Michael McDowell, 5,700, starting 17th, practice 17th, and 16th in 10-lap consecutive average. He's got an average finish of 21st. He's kind of got the vibe that he's going to finish where he starts. Finished 19th in this race last year. So with that taking into account, I'm not sure he improves his position much. If you were starting up in the higher 20s, maybe get that potential in there. But either way, I'm fading off of Michael McDowell. All right, next in line here, Harrison Burton, 5,600. He was decently, mediocrely fast in practice, 20th in single lap and 11th in 10-lap consecutive average. Well, the problem is at the 10th lap, his engine overheated and put water on the track, and Harrison Burton destroyed his car. So they could not qualify and have gone to a backup car. That backup car actually is coming off of the Penske truck. So it is a Penske-made ready car that was a backup for either Joey or Ryan Blaney. So Harrison Burton, most of Harrison's and the Wood Brother cars are almost all prepared by Penske. They're just really owned and finished by the Wood Brothers. So not a big difference, but it is a backup car that was designated for the Penske group. So starting 35th, ton of PD upside potential. He had good practice speeds. Starting 35th, if he can just get up into 20th, that's going to be what we need from Harrison Burton. And at 5,600, now remember, he's probably going to be fairly heavily owned starting 35th. So take that into consideration. All right, we're kind of getting down to the end here of drivers. Ty Dillon, 5,400, starting 33rd, 30th in single lap. He finished 33rd in this race last year. He's got a 26.3 average finish out of the last 5 races. He does have a 20.4 average out of his 9 total starts here. But we're gonna need a lot of attrition for Ty Dillon to have a decent day today. So I am not heavy on Ty Dillon starting 33rd. He will get some ownership because there is the potential of some PD upside play with Ty, but I don't particularly like it. And his teammate Corey LaJoie starting 19th is starting even further up. An average finish of 26.6 over the last 5, a 23.2 out of the last 10, and he finished 24th in this race last year. I just don't like Corey LaJoie's starting spot. His podcast is great. He's an awesome dude, but I just don't like your starting spot. So I am faded off of Corey LaJoie today. Todd Gillen, 5,100, starting 28th, 26th in single lap. This kind of gives me all the vibes that Todd Gillen's going to kind of finish where he starts. And that's not going to be enough. He's going to need, to be close to that top 10 to really kind of do something. But if you're having to hunt this low in price, Todd Gillen is probably one of the better options. I think if you can get up to Harrison Burton, I think you're going to be much better. It's 7 more spots that you could gain. He finished 25th in this race last year, starting 28th. Like I said, it kind of just gives me the vibes that he's going to finish kind of close to where he starts. So Hey, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Hit me up in the chat. Who do you like today? Who do you not like today? Who do you think gets the win? Ken Harrison Burton, make it from the back in a backup car. All right, Cody Ware, 4,900, starting 30th. Finished 27th in this race last year. He's got a 29.0 average finish out of the last 5 races. Or last 4 races. He does have 5 total starts, but that one was in the spring of 20, I think, where he's got a 23.2 average finish. For me to be interested in Cody, you would have needed to start 36th or 35th. So no real interest in Cody Ware, even though he is doing actually fairly well in points. Where was that? Hold on 1 second. Yeah, where's Cody Ware? Yeah, I mean, Cody Ware currently is 22nd in points. I mean, Corey LaJoie is 13th in points. So, I mean, Corey LaJoie has been having quietly a really good season to start. I mean, Chris Buescher's here up in 6th. Daniel Suarez 5th. Yeah, I mean, the points are pretty crazy right now. So, anything's possible, but Cody Ware starting 30th. I mean, there's a potential. It's a long shot if you want to put somebody in. But, I mean, BJ McLeod didn't practice at all. Qualified 36th. Starting, or, yeah, 35th, but he didn't have any practice speeds. So, I mean, I think they fired the engines to make sure it would start. And, yeah, I don't have a whole lot of interest in BJ McLeod today. He also made some adjustments. Yeah, no interest in BJ McLeod, even starting last. JJ Yaley starting 29th. Definitely outkicked your coverage, JJ. You're finished 31st here in the fall race last year out of the last 3 starts out of the last 5 races, 34.0 average finish. Yeah, I have no interest in JJ Yaley. Josh Berry, all right. 2-time winner in the Xfinity Series here at Las Vegas. $8,000, starting 32nd. Now remember, this is the first time that he has climbed into a Cup car, at least a next-gen Cup car. I mean, starting 32nd, he has the potential to probably maybe get to the top 20. I'm not sure he goes and hunts for a top 10, but anything's possible. Yeah, he likes this 1.5-mile track in Las Vegas. The question is, can he get himself acclimated to the new next-gen Cup car? So I've got a little bit of ownership, but it would not surprise me if he doesn't fare all that well today. I took just a little bit of ownership on him just for the sheer maybe he has a good day. But I also don't recommend a whole lot of ownership of Josh Berry today. You know, a couple weeks into being in that car, if Chase Elliott can't make it back quickly, then we can start talking about Josh Berry being potentially somebody we target. But right now, I've got a little bit, but not a whole lot. All right, let's look at our breakdown. Oops, I forgot to fix this, but that's okay. All right, highest owned guys that I think will be highly owned and sought after: Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson, Ross Chastain, and who didn't show up here is Joey Logano. So take that, Joey Logano is supposed to be here. Those are the top 4 that I think will be the highest owned drivers today. Place differential, which I don't think is going to be a huge factor today. And as you can kind of see, I mean, I've got the Tyler Reddick up here as being, I mean, one of the only ones that's starting in the 30s, but I really think kind of maybe some place differential guys: Martin Truex Jr., Kevin Harvick, AJ, Daniel Suarez. So you see most of them are 26th or better. And for finishing, I think really we're not going to have this track has a tendency for really long green flag runs, ends up putting guys laps down. And then it just seems to, at least all weekend, it's been a very long run track. Now we could completely get turned upside down, depending on how windy it is, and the next gen car is a little bit squirrely, so maybe we have some attrition. But I think for finishing spots, Ryan Blaney could easily run really well. Kyle Busch has always run really well here. I mean, William Byron and all them could potentially really kind of, I mean, that we're probably looking at having 2 guys that are going to be dominators, 2 more guys that are going to finish top 5 or maybe even top 10. And then really we're looking for 1 to 2 that might come from the back, finish in that top 10. So the guys I don't like today, I'm question mark on usage would be Bubba Wallace, Josh Berry, Ty Dillon, and Ty Gillen. Ones I have no interest in today, Ty Gibbs, Corey LaJoie, BJ McLeod, Cody Ware, JJ Elliott, and of course, don't play Chase Elliott today. So, yeah. So, I mean, pretty much these guys in the greens is really what I kind of really target, at least the true green, not the light green. Those are kind of my targets today. In past Vegas Cups, so in the next gen car from last year, once again, we didn't have anybody in the 30s. Justin Haley was in the optimal lineup, 28th to 14th, and that's kind of what I'm thinking we'll see some of today is this sweet spot. Is going to be in the high teens, low to mid 20s, to be kind of our optimal, or to make it the optimal lineup and have decent place differential. And of course, our normal suspects, Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson, Joey Logano, William Byron, are going to be kind of the guys that we're going to be targeting for dominators. Now, our spring race 1 year ago, remember this car was the next gen car. This is the third race we've had here. Kyle Busch destroyed his car in practice and then came back to finish 4th, so ton of PD upside. I mean, that was almost a no-brainer play. But this is where we started to see Ross Chastain really kind of come around. I mean, here's Ross Chastain in both of the last 2 optimal lineups here at Las Vegas. So Ross Chastain runs really well here. Keep in mind that he probably will run well here again. Alex Bowman won the race. William Byron, 14th, finished 5th. I mean, once again, other than this Kyle Busch who wrecked his car, and that's kind of like the Tyler Reddick play today, I don't really have any interest in a whole lot of the guys in the the 30s. Corey LaJoie. Here we go. I just spoke poorly of him because he's starting 19th, but 29th to 15th. Maybe Corey LaJoie starts really turning his career around, and starts running better consistently week after week. Now, this was in the last generation car, but this kind of still shows us the trend here of really we're not going real far back in the starting lineup to find the guys that are making the optimal lineups. 6, 11, 8, 13, 21st, and 19th. And then we look at down here, Eric Jones from 29th to 10th. But most of these guys are teens or top 10 starting spots. So we're not dumpster diving by any means and trying to find that huge place differential for this race. Look for that middle of the pack sweet spot, and then really kind of hone in and find a couple of dominators to kind of target. We'll have to do a little bit of diving towards some value picks, but this is when Ryan Preece was a $5,800 driver. Up here was Briscoe. Briscoe hadn't started his turn yet until he won the race in Phoenix the next week. Bubba Wallace was still kind of figuring things out with 2311. Tyler Reddick was still kind of a question mark until he started firing off these top 10 finishes, and everybody was like, "Ooh, Tyler Reddick's really good." But either way, that's kind of what we're looking for, and you want to probably spend. We had 600, 900, 100, 500. We're looking at spending the majority of our money today. Don't be shy and leave thousands of dollars on the table. I don't think that's the right play. Save that for Atlanta and super speedways and that type of stuff. So, all right, that kind of gives us a full breakdown of what we're looking at. If you've got any questions, thoughts, comments, make sure you hit me up in the comment section. I'll be more than happy to try to answer them. But either way, I appreciate you joining in. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And 53 minutes. I'm right kind of in that sweet spot that I always like to be under an hour. So I appreciate you tuning in. Good luck today, and good luck in Vegas. Maybe you can have the luck of the roll of the dice or the roulette table. So, all right, have a great weekend. We will see you next week. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.
Get a good deep breath. Get ready to roll here. Only about one thing tonight, getting the W, so got to be around the end to do that. Get ready to roll tonight, boys. Let's go have some fun.
Don't get me any more fired up than I already am.
all the way to the checker. You're fine. Nobody's got to run. Checker time, baby!
Hell yeah!
Proud of you there, Mac. Good job, pal. Thanks, man. Good job all day.
Great work, my man. Great work. Keep putting yourself in position. We'll win our share, right? We got one back today, brother. Good job.
10-4, great job, guys. Excellent work, my man. Excellent work. Thank you.
Man, that's awesome. Set out with a goal. We got it here, bud. Thank you very much.
Really proud of you, man. Drove your butt off tonight. We had the fastest car here, bud.
Probably killed our deal there. Just feel like I gave one away.
Yeah, boys. Way to rebound. Great job.
Great job, bud. Really good job. Appreciate you hanging in there with us all weekend.
What a weekend. Good job. Thank you.